It was in the summer blockbuster hit Barbie that the CEO of Mattel, played by Will Ferrell, said, "I'm the son of a mother. I'm the mother of a son. I'm the nephew of a woman aunt." When I was putting together this episode, I couldn't think of a better segue into what we will be discussing today: maternity leave. In this episode, I'll be breaking down how maternity leave is currently structured in the US, how this affects women, and what we can do to change it. So get ready because I'm your host, Eleanor Orrillo, and this is El Momento. Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. Donde sea que estés en este momento, esto es El Momento. As always, I'm your host, Eleanor Orrillo. Welcome to episode 2 of season 2. Today, we're going to be discussing maternity leave. So, what preceded to the formation of the idea to do an episode on this? Well, much like the quote roughly illustrated at the beginning, I am the daughter of a mother. Although I've never formally had her on the show, she plays such a large role behind the scenes that her name should be on the cover of every episode as well. She keeps me on track when I get distracted while writing scripts. She provides me with ideas for future episodes, and she lends me her desk space when mine is covered in piles of other things. After I was born, my mother decided to take 2 years off in order to properly take care of me. Granted, I was the firstborn, so there were no other kids she had to be responsible for, but that doesn't take away from her large sacrifice. During that time, she taught me and made sure that I be exposed to both Spanish and English, that I learned basic skills, and that I grew up in a nurturing environment. Although I don't remember that time, I wouldn't trade it for anything. 7 years later, my brother was born, and we had moved to a new city and state. My mother had just recently begun her residency and was only able to spend 2 months with my brother before having to return. Since he was still a baby, my grandmothers would fly in from out of country and take turns caring for him when the other had to return home. My father and I made an effort to try and keep him entertained, but it wasn't the same. Although 2 months seems like no time at all, she was lucky because some women get even less paid time off to spend with their newborns. This topic piqued my interest largely because of two things. First off, I have a lot of female teachers, many of whom are new mothers or mothers with young children. Because of this, I often heard from them the trials and tribulations of trying to balance a work life and being a mom. It was evident how bad they felt about being out of class for so many days, but they often had no other choice. Second of all, it was a post I saw by @Sadia_M. I follow her on Instagram, and it's often through her posts that I find ideas on which to base podcast episodes off of. This post of hers was a screenshot of a tweet saying, "It's illegal to sell a puppy within 8 weeks of birth because it's deemed cruel to separate it from its mother, but corporate America expects women to return to work 4 weeks after giving birth." The statement got me thinking, there's no way that's true. A quick Google search later, I realized that it is very much so. Here is when I introduce the Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA for short. What the act entails is that companies with more than 50 employees are required to offer 12 weeks of unpaid leave. But the flaw there is that many new parents can't afford to take those 12 weeks off. In general, the average maternity leave in the United States is 10 weeks, but that's taking paid sick leave, paid personal time, and unpaid leave, which often leaves these parents with no extra days off in case of a medical or family emergency. Other factors that play a large role in the time off is race or ethnicity, family income, employment status, whether the mother is privately insured, and whether she works full-time or not. This is where I came across organization 0 to 3. 0 to 3 works to raise awareness over how crucial paid leave is for new mothers and how we can support legislation that will work to help these moms. But more on that later. For now, let us discuss how this lack of paid time off is affecting women. When I was viewing this post, the top comment was from a woman saying, "I've always known I didn't want kids, but now I'm so relieved I never gave in to the pressure. It's just not worth it in this country." It was after I read this comment and the responses to it that I realized that this is the consensus most women reach. Despite this, America continues to encourage women to strive for this quote unquote happy medium. What I mean by this medium is that it benefits the country if women are giving birth. It's how we grow the population. But it also benefits them to have a large workforce. So, how do they achieve both? Make women believe that if they give birth, they will also be able to maintain the career they have chosen while raising the baby. They have programs like the FMLA, which gives the false sense of security that they will have the support they need, but in reality, they economically can't take those days off. The lack of economic security is one of the many reasons why women are now choosing not to have children. According to CNN, some of the other reasons include political uncertainty, shifting gender norms, less stigma around being child free, and largely the lack of government support for childcare. How can we expect these women to want to have children when they have to jump through hoops just to achieve a somewhat decent life post birth? It doesn't make sense. Society wants women to take control and attempt to climb the corporate ladder because then it does show that the system isn't flawed and women can do anything a man can do. But at the same time, women must be excited to become mothers and be willing to sacrifice their career because of their baby, but are expected to come right back to work after pushing a literal human out of their great plan. Overall, studies have shown that by separating mothers from their newborns so soon, we are negatively impacting women's physical and mental health. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, or JAMA for short, less than 8 to 12 weeks of paid maternity leave is associated with an increased risk of postpartum depression, which can lead to suicide. JAMA also notes that this increase in anxiety and stress also negatively impacts the baby. Paid maternity leave decreases infant and child mortality rates, reduces risks for breast and ovarian cancer for the mother, and promotes better physical and mental health. The science is there. So, what now? Now, it's not all as doom and gloom as I make it sound. Organizations like Zero to Three illustrate how far we have come since the early 20th century. Compared to how in the 1900s women weren't paid a dime, now at least we have 13 states that have mandatory paid leave systems, and 8 states have voluntary systems that provide pay through private insurance. Not a lot, but it's something. Granted, many European countries and others around the world offer extensive paid family leave and medical leave without job protection, but who cares? The most we can do right now is push for legislators in states like Iowa, Louisiana, Montana, and Wisconsin to have paid maternity leave. We can also hold companies accountable because although FMLA is flawed ish, it's not the worst thing in the world. If you're in a job interview, ask them what their maternity/paternity leave policy is. It's not much, but raising awareness is key to getting the system to change. Mothers have been seen as the backbone of this country since the 1800s. Let's keep that high held opinion there and help them in moments when they most need us. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of El Momento. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure you share the podcast and answer our Q&A questions. As always, I'm your host, Eleanor Orrillo. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.